Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Uncorked with Funny Wine Girl. This is Funny Wine Girl, aka Janine Luby. And guess what? I'm flying solo this week. I am working hard on what is to come in the weeks and months ahead. And as I mentioned previously, I really am genuinely so excited for 2026 because I will celebrate 5 years of this podcast in May. And I have a lot of things planned. It's true. Many of them are in my head right now, so they're not concrete. But so I won't share, but I definitely have really big hopes and ideas for the coming year for some online events and some in-person events. Like I said, I've had conversations. I'm planting seeds. Might be even watering those seeds soon, but we have to see. I've been speaking to some folks, and I'm really excited about the possibility of what's coming in 2026. And with that said, I should say that if you, whether you're an individual, just an interested listener, if you're a person who is an entrepreneur, or you're part of a larger organization or business, if you would like to collaborate on something, maybe you've heard one of my guests and they spoke about mental wellness, or they spoke about, training for a marathon, or they spoke about being, more sustainable in our living, or a program for children, or something in the community, and it was like, I'd like to know more about that, or I'd like to do something like that. Reach out to me because I can connect you with my guests, of course, if they're willing, or I would be happy to work with you on some kind of collaboration. Again, my goal each week is to offer a platform to amplify the voices of women, for them to share their stories, for them to share insight, information, and to inspire listeners. So, again, if you have ideas, like I said, this is the 5 year anniversary. I really just want to do more of what I've been doing, but I want to do events online and in person. And I do have some specific things in mind, excuse me. But if you have ideas and you want to bring them to me, please, I am always open for collaboration. So, with that said, the other thing I would say is support is so key. I have been sending out emails, and I will be doing a couple social media posts, things that I don't normally do, which is asking for your support. If you could be a supporter of this podcast as a sponsor, there are some very affordable packages. I even have one-time shout outs for, I believe I have them at $20 or $25. And basically, for that shout out, you can promote an event you've got going. You can promote your website. It is a quick shout out. Then I have other packages where you get a 1 or 2 minute long ad. You get your logo on the podcast promo, and you get mentioned in social media and in the show notes. So there's a variety of packages available. Please feel free to reach out to me anytime, or if you see me out and about, just ask me about them. And then the last thing I'll say, as far as promotion goes, I completely understand that finances can be tight. We never know what people are going through. The cost of things is not going down. So if that's not in your budget, I completely understand. But you can still show support. And please know, you might think to yourself, well, I don't have that many followers, or you never know, 1 or 2 of your followers might actually really enjoy this podcast. So, and maybe they're not aware of it. So please assume nothing. And, you can always help out by sharing the podcast on your social media. Tell somebody when you're in line at the grocery store, hey, you want to listen to a really good podcast? Tell a friend, a foe, anyone you know. And if you've enjoyed at least one episode of the podcast, please feel free to write a review and rate the podcast. If you go to Apple, you can quickly just click on 5 stars, and let me tell you, that does help with the algorithm. So, all right, enough with that. So this week I will share, though, that I'm trying to, I'm working on scheduling some guests in January, and I will freely admit to you that I was possibly going to have this particular guests this week, and it just didn't pan out. So I was thinking of different possibilities of what I might want to do, and an opportunity kind of showed up at my doorstep, literally. So I was sitting here today, and I'm recording this on Monday, December, what the heck is it? December 15th. So this will air on the 18th. It's been a rough weekend, not necessarily for me personally, but for the world. And you might be thinking, huh, it's been rough since, and I know a lot of times folks will say how bad things are these days, and I'm not disagreeing, but I kind of feel like things were bad in a variety of ages throughout the history of the world. But these days, it probably feels magnified or seems bigger because we're aware of it so much. It's in our faces. We can't escape it. So, with social media, it's instant information, not always accurate information. And then you have opinions on that information and counter opinions. Folks hundreds of years ago, or even 50 years ago, or even 20 years ago, didn't have that kind of influence or that kind of situation going on. So, yes, there has been really terrible tragedies throughout history. But unfortunately, it feels worse nowadays because it's in our faces, and we really do need to practice more self control. And I'm speaking to myself when I say that too. Put the phone down, stop scrolling, stop reading inflammatory, inaccurate, often misinformation, and just, deliberately inflammatory information. But this weekend, what I'm referring to is the slaughter of about, I think the last I saw was maybe about 15 people celebrating Hanukkah. I want to say if it's pronounced Biondi or Bondi, I could be mispronouncing it. In Australia, people celebrating Hanukkah, and thanks to a hero, a gentleman who actually tackled the shooter. That's wow. That's great hope to find or hear that, humanity, there is still hope out there. So that happened. And I hate to say it this way, I don't want to sound callous or dismissive, but we had yet another shooting. I think it was Brown University over the weekend. By the time this comes out on Thursday, I'm sure there will be more. And I say that it's terrible, but we are reaching that point. And then the news, of course, that broke last night and into this morning about Rob Reiner and his spouse, his wife, potentially, possibly being murdered by their son. That's what appears to be said in the news right now. But I don't want to focus on the negative. I just want to say there's an air of heaviness, and we can feel often hopeless with all of that. And I will share a couple positive things. So, what I want to talk about this week, I'm going to share and I'm going to read from a book. So, when I said this week's podcast idea or topic that was delivered to my door, it literally was. And it does tie into previous episodes and to one of my podcast sponsors. But I do want to share, pardon me. I do want to share a couple of positive memories of Rob Reiner's work. I am a child of the 70s. Jesus Christ. I do want to share a couple positive memories about Rob Reiner. I am a child of the 70s. I don't remember exactly what year All in the Family was on. So I don't know if I was watching it when it was in prime time or if it was reruns, but I do believe it was on in the 70s, and I was born in 71. So I definitely do have memories of watching All in the Family with, of course, Rob Reiner as Meathead. You had Sally Struthers as his, I guess it was wife, Gloria. And of course, is it Maureen Stapleton, I believe, was Edith Archie. And of course, Carol O'Connor as Archie Bunker, and by Norman Lear. Norman Lear was, of course, an incredible. Actually, Norman Lear may still be living or recently passed, but if he isn't still living, I know he lived to be have quite a long life, and he contributed quite a bit to the sitcom scene in America. But with this particular sitcom, it really was meant to be, I guess you could say, satire, if that would be the right word. It was to show a bigot, this American guy who liked to sit down in his, easy chair, watch TV, drink beer, and didn't even realize his own, sexism, racism, bigotry. Which unfortunately still exists in our country. But I do remember watching that with my family And then When Harry Met Sally is one of my absolute favorite movies, to the point where I was renting the VHS so much that I ended up buying it. And then, of course, I ended up having to buy a DVD because, times change. And now, of course, I don't even have a DVD player. But, of course, there's the famous line, I'll have what she's having. But, my friends and I will often say to each other, Oliver, shout out my buddy Oliver. Really, Marie, really, Marie. Carrie Fisher, God rest her soul, played just a really funny character in that. And of course, Baby Fishmouth is sweeping the nation. Or, you're right, you're right. I know you're right. He's never going to leave her. Some of these lines that are just so classic. And I'll be honest, I didn't even realize, truthfully, I knew he did When Harry Met Sally. He directed that movie, and I love that movie. I did not realize, or if I did, I had forgotten until, people listing all these wonderful things he did, that he directed A Few Good Men. I don't think I knew that. Absolutely love that movie. Oh my gosh, the acting in that movie, the dialogue, it was just a fantastic movie. Misery, another great movie that I'll tell you, I do not think I knew that he directed that movie. Mr. Man. I mean, my gosh, the performances, James Caan, Kathy Bates, the performances in that movie, that's yet another fantastic movie. Stand By Me. I mean, maybe I knew that, but I probably forgot. Another phenomenal movie. And I don't need to list these things that you, of course, either know yourself or can read about online, and you probably have your own memories. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. And I do want to say that there is still great good in the world. It's absolutely there. It's absolutely there. So please don't close your eyes to it. Do not shut your eyes to it. There is good out there. There is good in front of you, around you. Sometimes we just have to slow down to see it. And when we're having a hard time seeing it, for as corny as it sounds, and you see those stickers out there, be the change in the world you want to see, it is true. It is absolutely true. If you're not seeing anything good in your day or in your week, make something good. Do something good, because trust me, it will come back and it will create a ripple effect. We have to do that. So, someone like Rob Reiner created joy. He created more than art and funny, poignant movies. He created memories for people. I can tell you, When Harry Met Sally, when I think of it and I laugh, I think of friends that I watched it with, friends that I still quote it with to this day. So those are joyful things. He created positivity. He filled people's hearts with laughter, joy, and love, and that's what brings us together. So that darkness and that, I will not mention anything or anyone, because you know what I'm talking about. The dark forces that are out there, they don't deserve to be spoken of. And we can beat, the darkness. We can shine our own lights and make an impact. So that leads me to what I really thought I'd hop on here and talk about or share with you today or this week. So as I was sitting here tonight, kind of feeling sad and really jumping into social media, just falling right into that social media hole, reading all of the reactions to negativity and all of the tributes to Rob Reiner. And I was also trimming my tree, which is a joyful, positive thing. But I received a package in the mail. Now, I had ordered something from my host, or I should say, one of my podcast sponsors is Reinvented Threads with Gabby Lynn. And Gabby Lynn was a guest just a few weeks ago, and we were talking about trying to be more sustainable during the holiday season, ways that you can do that, and gifts that you can give that aren't, what do I want to say, that aren't wasteful, that won't create more for the landfill. And so we had that conversation, and we talked about how it's nice to give experiences, for, you can give, concert tickets, tickets to a ball game, plan time together where you go for a hike and then a nice lunch or something. We talked about that. And we also talked about being sustainable with our gift wrap, instead of using paper, wrapping paper, or, paper gift bags. Gabby shared about this Japanese art form that's called, I might mispronounce it, so forgive me, Furoshiki. And basically, it's using a piece of cloth and wrapping the gift in that. And you can just kind of tie it in knots and give it to the person. And then they have this fabric that they can reuse instead of throwing away. So I ordered from Gabby Lynn. I ordered a cashmere beanie for a friend. It's a gift for Christmas. And Gabby Lynn, so let's talk about goodness in the world. And I don't want to embarrass Gabby because she does listen and she might say, okay, you didn't need to do that. But Gabby Lynn is not just a podcast sponsor, she is a friend. She is someone I met, oh boy, 15 years ago when she owned a coffee house in Forest City, which is just north of Scranton by about 45 minutes. She had this lovely little coffee shop. Her father is a writer, so she's really big on words. She incorporates words into her handbags and her hats. And it's just important. And I love that about her too, because I'm a word nerd myself. But it was called Quotes, and she had a quote of the day at her coffee shop. She had coffee, of course, as you would have, because hence the name, right? Coffee shop. But she had like pastries and things like that. And we had worked together. We did a laugh teehee, a laughter yoga and tea with little sandwiches and tea, and it was a lovely day. My gosh, I remember it was in the summertime. I have pictures of that I just love that afternoon. And then later, I think in 2010, when I came out with my self-published book with like humorous illustrations and short stories called "He's Not Prince Charming When dot dot dot," Gabby Lynn let me have a little book event there to launch the book. And so she's just always been supportive. She got rid of the coffee shop. She moved away to the Lehigh Valley area, but we've stayed in touch. I've seen her since. She is a generous podcast sponsor, but she's also a generous and kind human being who, in addition to sending me the cashmere beanie that I bought, of course, because this is her way, she's very kind. She sent me a gift. And of course, as we spoke about, Gabby Lynn does. I always screw up this expression: talk the talk, walk the walk, walk the talk, whatever. She does what she says. Basically, she lives by her ideals or her values, her morals, her beliefs. And she sent me a little extra something in addition to what I had ordered as a gift. She sent me a gift, and it was wrapped in this lovely red piece of cloth, so furoshiki style. She sent me a book, and the name of the book is Tomorrow: Adventures in an Uncertain World. And of course, she sent it with this cute little card. And I'm going to, for the folks who are going to look on YouTube, it has the bee. And of course, it says happy. So be happy. And, happy holidays. Love, Gabby. And this book, I'm going to show this book for anyone who wants to go take a look on YouTube. Tomorrow, Adventures in an Uncertain World. And then, of course, I love when I give people books because you always want to write a little message in them because I think that's so sweet. She wrote to me and she said, "Thank you for your friendship and support." And then in the corner here, it says, "This book has been used, but its words are still good. Hope you enjoy it and keep it or pass it on." Now, Gabby Lynn has done this before, and I think it's a beautiful practice. Months back, I had ordered some of her monster dolls, which I think are absolutely adorable. And she gifted me with a different book, same kind of concept. So the idea is I can read this and keep it for myself, or I can read it, keep it for a while, pass it along and gift it to someone else. And that is really the joy, not only in living sustainably, but also in being thoughtful, because I can tell you this lovely little unexpected gift just made me smile. So it looks like it's a short book. I started reading through it and I thought, you know what? I could use some positivity. And I think a lot of people out there right now could use some positivity. So I thought I would read from this book. And I hope you'll indulge me. And here's the deal: if you don't like this idea, you can always turn it off. It's cool. So this week is a little something different. Every week I like to have a woman as a guest on to share her story, but that's not happening this week. So, like I said, hopefully you'll tune in. If not, I'll catch you next week. All right. So, Tomorrow: Adventures in an Uncertain World. And it's by Bradley Trevor Greive, the #1 best-selling author of The Blue Day Book and Dear Mom. Now, I will freely admit I'm not familiar with him or his books because I'm embarrassingly not a book person. And I'm not proud of that. I love the look of books. I love the feel of books, but I get bored. And as I'm learning, a lot of women are being tested now for ADHD. And I would not be surprised if that's what the diagnosis would be for me as well, as I'm having more and more difficulty these days staying focused and completing tasks. I would not be surprised. But let's not go there. Let's get into this lovely book. Okay, let's make sure I'm starting on the right page here. After long and thoughtful consideration, I have come to a rather interesting conclusion. Even though the global population is soaring into the billions, with thousands of religions, languages, philosophies, and cultures represented, ultimately, there are only two kinds of people. There are those who are certain the world is going to hell in a handbasket. That reminds me of my grandmother, that expression. And those who believe the best is yet to come. Actually, there is a third kind of person who thinks traditional Irish dance is the highest form of creative expression, but I don't really want to talk about them. Now, it hardly takes a genius to point out that we already live in dangerous and uncertain times. Why, all you have to do is turn on the TV, grab a copy of the newspaper, or just look out your window. It ain't a pretty sight. Best friends and former allies are suddenly tearing at each other's throats, while unshakable economic powerhouses, are crashing to their knees on a daily basis. You and I both know that good people get attacked in broad daylight all the time, but somehow the bad guys never get caught. It seems that everywhere you turn, there are psychotic egomaniacs secretly trying to spoil your fun, drive you crazy, and generally make your life miserable. Just for starters, there are shop clerks with way too much attitude, donuts with too much icing sugar, unbearably long tap dance routines in the middle of your favorite old musicals, and the dramatic after effects of a dangerously authentic chili con carne that are made 10 times worse because public restroom doors never lock properly anymore. Of course, heartburn is nothing compared to heartache. Even though we are frequently told there are plenty of fish in the sea, the truth is that most of us spend a great deal of our lives physically and emotionally isolated, feeling utterly alone. And if you do finally snuggle up to someone who seems perfect for you, you find out they snore so loudly that your dreams need subtitles. You just can't win. If you listen to the professional doomsayers, they will tell you that's barely the half of it. They say these are our darkest days and the future looks bleaker than ever. They tell us again and again that evil lurks everywhere, in the streets, in the trees, in the media, in the air, in the water, in the corridors of power, even in your sock drawer, waiting impatiently to rise up when we least expect it and sink its venomous teeth into our most tender regions. And finally, they point out that at every office Christmas party, there is always someone who feels compelled to do this. It's the end of the world, they shout. It's all over. Now, what I find so confusing is that if these stone faced folk truly believe all the scary stuff they preach, why do they choose to keep on living? Okay, I freely admit that choking yourself to death is not nearly as easy as it sounds. And I was surprised to learn that you can't actually kill yourself simply by overdosing on bran fiber, although you certainly will become embarrassingly regular. Luckily, thanks to modern technology, putting yourself out of your misery has never been more convenient or affordable. Of course, if life really appears that unpleasant and meaningless to you, go see an eye specialist and then take a closer look. You will find that there is always beauty and hope in even the most awful circumstances. There is always someone prepared to help those who ask. There is always someone you can count on, and there are a million special moments that can chase the shadows from your face in an instant and will cost you nothing but a few spare minutes. Furthermore, romance is not dead. In fact, there are actually more qualified tango instructors working today than at any other time in history. The odds of an unexpectedly intimate jacuzzi encounter have also never been better. Although it may not be on your mind right now, the wisdom you glean from your joys and hardships can always be shared with someone else. By doing so, you will leave the world a little better than you found it. Even though I think life is infinitely more preferable to the alternative, I'm not pretending it's always easy or enjoyable. The truth is that sometimes life is so damned hard, it gives you a cramp in your brain just thinking about what you have to do to make it through another 24 hours. So it's no surprise that when they think about the future, a lot of people feel anxious, somewhat depressed, and generally confused and alarmed. Even in the best of times, there will never be a shortage of moaners and grumblers, but it's always fascinating to see how different people react during times of genuine uncertainty. There are those who completely flip out at the very first rumor of trouble and start screaming, "The sky is falling! The sky is falling!" I think I worked for that person before. But when you press them for hard evidence to explain their panic, they admit they have nothing better to back up their position than what a little bird told them. Somehow, it never occurs to them to wonder how credible the little bird's source was in the first place. Then there are the people who put on a big show about how they are not concerned in the least and know exactly what to do about everything. But when they are alone at night and the lights go out, they may well be the most frightened of all. There are also plenty of folk who are absolutely certain that the future is an extremely hostile place, no matter what you show or tell them. They stand ready to defend themselves from a million dangers every day until eventually they become as hard, ugly, and cruel as the world they have imagined. And finally, there are people who just want to dig an emotional bunker and jump inside. They think if they put up enough walls, they'll always be safe. The irony is that instead of locking others out, they're actually locking themselves in. They may avoid a few things that make life difficult, but in the end, they also miss out on all the wonderful things that make life worth living. And that makes about as much sense as practicing high fives on your own. A far more reasonable approach is simply to put on the bravest smile you've got and admit that you are not the center of the known universe. Therefore, there will always be things you don't know and can't control. So when it's simply not your day and things get a little out of hand, as they invariably do from time to time, it's much more productive and far healthier to just sit back and enjoy the absurdity of the moment. This is not rocket science. It's just common sense that you should enjoy the bizarre fact that you live on a planet with at least 600 unique flavors of ice cream. Instead of getting all worked up about the truly disgusting taste of atomic lemon sherbet with a licorice ripple, likewise, it's definitely not worth obsessing about the intentions of all the sinister individuals who stalk the earth. When it comes to ne'er-do-wells who betray and hurt others for their own personal gain, their wicked ways eventually catch up with them. They pretty much always get what they deserve in the end. So, in other words, a good support network is always valuable, but hiring personal bodyguards is probably going too far. Another reason why you shouldn't fear tomorrow is that although you probably aren't what you eat, you certainly are what you love. This means that who you really are is always accurately reflected in everything around you that is dear to your heart, your close friends being one obvious example. In this sense, it's fair to say that the world around you is a mirror. Therefore, you have a lot more control over the future than you might think, because you can shape your world just by being true to what you really care about. Perhaps this will make sense to you, and then again, perhaps it won't. You might say, aha, but how do you explain all the terrible things in my world that I don't want? That is certainly a valid question. And my answer is, irritatingly enough, yet another question. What is it that you truly want? You see, it's what we truly want and love that influences the world around us, whether we admit it or not. For example, we often say we just want to be happy, when what we mean is we want money, lots of it. We say we want spiritual enlightenment and a higher sense of understanding, but what we really want are easy answers. We say that we want love, affection, and companionship, but what we really want is wild, passionate sex. We say we just want to be accepted for who we really are, when we really wish we were a little more glamorous. So this book has really cute pictures of animals that I think might make it even better for you to see. This is when we when we really wish we were a little more glamorous. There's a pig wearing pearls. If that's not glamorous, I don't know what is. Okay, when we really wish we were a little more glamorous and had slimmer, firmer thighs. As a rather wise person once said, you can't fool Mother Nature. There are certain immutable truths in this world that you just can't talk your way out of. Gravity will always get you down. Belgian chocolates will go straight to your hips. And sticking your finger in the toaster when your Pop Tarts are ablaze is always something you'll regret. Likewise, you must be very careful what you wish for, because you simply cannot lie to yourself and get away with it. When you are not honest about what you want in life, you hurt those closest to you and yourself most of all. Think very clearly about what you care most about. What is it that gets you excited about being alive? What do you really want to do with the limited time you have? What will your personal legacy be? But don't spend all your time dreaming about the future, because the key to tomorrow is today. No matter what brilliant answers you have for life's important questions, ultimately what counts is that you break through the fears and doubts that hold you back and take action. Be your own cheerleader. Do something you never thought you'd ever do. Live in the moment. Keep in mind, though, that someone else's great adventure could turn out to be your greatest nightmare. So follow only your own road wherever it leads you, one step at a time. Your life journey is not a race or a competition, nor is it a boring highway without exits that you must trudge along for eternity. Embrace the unpredictable and go exploring for things that inspire you. Take time out to enjoy the view. The fact is that one day, instead of waking up for breakfast, you will find yourself drawn down a long, dark tunnel toward a bright and beautiful light, and your journey will have come to an end. In that moment, when your entire life passes by before your eyes, I really don't think you will care too much about the amount of money you made, the frequent flyer miles you accrued, the awards you won, the car you owned, the value of your stock, or the number of times you got your picture in the newspaper. Instead, I believe the most important thing in your life will probably be the smooches you shared, the nights you spent gazing in wonder at the stars, all the funny looking snow angels you made, the first drops of summer rain you caught on your tongue, and the time that someone special whispered, I love you. Don't waste the present worrying about the future. It will come soon enough, I promise. In the meantime, I suggest you keep your chin up, put your walking shoes on, and follow your heart to the ends of the earth. As you make this journey, always remember that each day is a precious gift. If you can enjoy it for what it is and make the most of it, then believe it or not, there is another extraordinary gift waiting for you tomorrow. Well, that was lovely. That got me a little teary eyed, but I'm also more emotional these days with perimenopause, with the various things going on in our world, with my dad's illness. I'm appreciating the little things a lot more. So I want to thank Gabby Lynn for sending me this lovely little book. And I'll be honest, I started reading it and I probably would have said it at the table near my bed. And it might have taken months before I looked at it again. And I'm so glad I read it for this week because I just feel like it's the medicine that we could use right now. Again, I know this isn't for every listener, but I think it was a nice little read and a reminder that of so many different things. Some of them trite, I agree, if that's what you're thinking. But I think it's always a nice reminder to focus on things that we can control. Take a look at what's in our life, the people we surround ourselves with, the priorities we make. Is that really what we want? Are we living the life that we want? Are we going after what we say we want? So I think it's a lovely little book, and it's very cute. The whole book is done kind of like one line on each page with some very cute, very funny photos of animals. So for all you animal lovers out there, there is animals of every kind: dogs, orangutans, hippos, flamingos. Really, really cute. A pig wearing pearls. How can you make how could you not love that? A little kitten among two ducks. I'm going to show you guys that. So if you go to YouTube, you can just see all of these cute little photos. Well, you can't see all of them. I'm just showing a couple of them. But the book is called Tomorrow: Adventures in an Uncertain World, Bradley Trevor Greive. And so I want to thank Gabby because that was just the right amount of light and positivity that was delivered to my doorstep today. So just a little something, a shorter episode today. I hope you took something away from it. Like I said, if it wasn't your cup of tea, that's fine. Come on back another time and you can enjoy a cup of coffee, a whiskey, a wine, whatever it is that suits you. In the coming weeks, like I said, I am really, really genuinely eager and excited to dive into 2026. It's the 5th anniversary of the podcast, but it's also the 20th anniversary of my business, Laugh to Live. I started it and actually created the name, filed the LLC for Laugh to Live in August of 2006. So 2026 is going to be an exciting year. So when I say my tomorrow, I'm excited about my tomorrow, and I genuinely mean that. So if you're interested in helping out and being a podcast sponsor, like I said, the sponsorships vary. They're quite affordable. And if not, please remember that I say this, and I'm going to say for a moment here, not just about me and my podcast, but any person who has a podcast, who does comedy, who has videos of their music, their rock band, their performances, whatever it is, a small business. Your support means the world. So please support small businesses, individual performers, music, artists, comedy, magicians, whatever people do that you're friends with. Believe me, we notice when you support us and we notice when you don't. And that's not meant to be a commentary, a threat, or whatever, but it means a lot. It really does lift our hearts when you help, and it doesn't help only lift our hearts, but it helps to fill in our wallets too. A lot of us, if we don't have audience members, people buying tickets, people showing support, we need to pay our bills. We've chosen a different path than a lot of people, but we're giving our talents and our skills and our gifts and our time, and we appreciate you. So if you show some appreciation, that would be incredible. And like I said, if you don't have money to support or to go out and buy a ticket or things like that, or to buy from someone who has a small business, share, spread the word on your social media, tell word of mouth, tell people all that good stuff. It really matters. So on that note, I will say thank you for listening. As I say each week, I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart and the bottom of my wine glass.